In November 2010, Cammi Granato was one of the first women inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Raised in Illinois, Cammi represented the United States in every World Championship from 1990 through 2005. And she won a gold medal in the Olympics as captain of the 1998 team in Nagano. Recently, she was named assistant general manager of the Vancouver Canucks after serving for 3 years as a pro scout for the expansion Seattle Kraken. In her spare time, she recently completed a long-time goal by authoring the children's book, I Can Play Too. Cammi Granato, welcome to the main event.
Thank you.
It's great having you here today. And the thing that's impressive is you dedicated this book to your family. And you said, I believe that the team is stronger than the individual. When did you first realize that you come from a very special family and that you were destined for hockey skates and not skates with toe picks?
Mm-hmm. You know what? I think for me, I was kind of born into hockey. There were 6 of us kids. I was the 5th in line, and I had 3 older brothers and a sister. And whenever my brothers were doing anything active, I wanted to join from the earliest memory that I have. And they let me. And I think one of the things that my parents instilled in us was like, we look out for each other. We look out for each other and we're stronger as a group. And it wasn't never like said all the time. It was just something that I remember knowing just innately. That was the way my parents parented. And that's the way our family believed was how it was going to be. And so my brothers let me, run around with them, play games with them. And most of our games were hockey. And so, as a younger sibling, keeping up to, my oldest brother was 7 years older than me, keeping up to him, I had to really work hard to keep up. And so I think that helped me as a hockey player. It helped me as a person, but the team mentality, I just feel really grateful that I had siblings like that and parents like that just really believed in like the strength of the family, because we were each other's best playmates for many, many years.
Back when you were starting, there wasn't a whole lot of girls teams. So were you playing with the boys in mites and squirts and peewee?
I played all the way until I was 18. 18 was my first year with women when I went to college. And there were no girls. And I think that's what the book exemplifies. It was in my town, I was the only girl playing. So when my parents said, I told them I wanted to skate, like my brothers, they had just assumed, well, you're going to figure skate because that's what girls do. Like it didn't even enter their mind that they should register me for hockey because girls didn't do that. And so I think, from that standpoint, I'm really fortunate that my parents said, we'll sign her up and let her try it. Because I could see how much I loved it. And from that point on, it was just like, I'm in love with it. I knew I loved the game and I was like, I'm never quitting. And I think they went with it. And, there were times where it was a little dicey and where players wanted to take runs at me when I was older, or coaches threatened, to hurt me. And it was just a lot of stuff, a lot of noise around me, but I had a strong family connection. I had strong family support. I had great coaches also that really looked out for me and teammates. So all in all, the experience was great and I wouldn't change it for anything.
That's incredible. The title character of your book is called Mimi. And I know you had an aunt named Mimi. And why was she so inspirational to you?
You know what? I've never met my Aunt Mimi. I just have a very strong sense of who she was. I feel like there's part of her that I feel in touch with. I don't know how to explain that. I'm named after her. My middle name is Michelle, and it was after Mimi. My parents actually were going to call me Mimi, but they thought it might be sensitive to my grandma, but because I'm Cammi, I'm just a combination of my first name and my middle name. But there was just this connection I felt, but she passed away when she was 15. And it was a devastating blow to my mom's family. And it was very hard for my mom to talk about her. I was always asking, not always, but occasionally I'd ask about her just to get more information about who she was and see some pictures. And it was hard for my mom. And I think this process has been really good for my mom because she's been able to talk about it in a positive way and we're honoring her. And it feels just incredibly right to honor her in this book. And I feel even more connected to her. And yeah, I really, that's one of the things that I'm most touched by in my book, is that I was able to honor her.
When you start to think about it, all of the connections from your family through, your nephew was the illustrator.
Mhm.
How did that come about?
Well, you know what? I think, again, you mentioned family, like having him be my illustrator. There's no one better fit, because he's family. There's an innate sense of trust and understanding and communication. And I mean, it was just perfect. Dom had always been a drawer. He had never sort of explored that in any other way than just casually drawing. But ironically enough, him and I were playing this game online where you would write, it's almost like a Pictionary, but you do it through the app. So he could be in California and I could be wherever, and we could text each other, here's the picture, guess what it is. And I was like, Dom, are you drawing this with your finger? Like, he was drawing like very detailed characters with his finger on a phone. And I was like, he is so talented. So he just hadn't been able to express that in a book before. And so this was his first one, but he, in my opinion, he's a pro. He's just so, his expressions and characters, his thought and depth that he went into the characters. He had a lot of things that, maybe they're fun facts that we'll get out, that he put in the book that you wouldn't notice at the first look, but it's really cool. He's amazing.
He's really talented. I mean, you look at this book, it looks like, it's not your first rodeo for both of you. Children in children's hospitals these days, many of them are going through a very tough time. And the question, I guess, is, when you put this book in front of these kids, are you hoping to just inspire girls to do things, or can any child that's been told they can't do something get something from I Can Play Too?
Absolutely. The book is not geared towards girls, just as any book about a boy character isn't geared towards a boy. It's a story, and it doesn't matter what gender or what who you are. It's an inspiring story. So the goal for me was just to let anybody know that if they've ever felt different, or they've ever felt isolated, or they ever felt like they didn't want to follow their passion because they were afraid of something, they don't have to be. We need to follow our heart. I got teased, and and there was a point in the book where I wanted to make it clear, like, the figure skaters that were teasing me did not understand, because they had never seen someone like me play hockey. So I just had to block that out and go on my path and go, you know what, I'm doing the right thing. And I had support. Support is a big thing, to have people around you that believe in you too. But I just want children to know, like, whatever they believe in, no matter how untraditional, or if you're just feeling like you're the odd man out, or you look different, or you feel different, it's okay. Like, follow your passions, follow your dreams. And yeah, it did bother me sometimes that I couldn't be in the locker room with my friends and my teammates until they were all dressed, half dressed, and then I could come in. So, but there were times where the rink owner recognized that the girls were turning the lights off on me in the bathroom. Right. And he said, I'm going to clear out a space for you in the broom closet. So I literally was in a closet next, and it was out in the rink. So I didn't have to come in the lobby and turn left into so those little victories where it was like, of course I would like to be in the locker room like all the boys, but they never made me feel isolated. It was just I had to wait to get in there till they were all dressed. So it was just what it was. I love the game too much. There was nothing that was going to stop me. And those things were just little things. And I never dwelled on them.
How impressive was it the first time you put on a Team USA jersey?
That was incredible. That was something I'll never forget. I had seen my brother. Well, first of all, we watched the 1980 Olympic team win and the gold medal. And that had a huge impact on my family, because now all the games in the basement became US against Russia and Olympic game, and how we're going to win the gold medal. So we were a big family that followed the Olympics, and certainly had the 80 team had a huge impact. So that was like, and then I guess, so right after that, my brother Tony so 8 years later, my brother Tony went to the Olympics in 1988. And then in 1990, there was the first women's world championship. So I was like blown away 2 years after I watched my brother go to the Olympics, that I'm pulling over a USA jersey and wearing it. It was like, I'll never forget that day that I saw my jersey in the stall, and the pride that I felt when I put it on.
And then when you won the Olympic gold medal in Nagano in 98, that had to be the epitome of representation.
That moment alone singly was the greatest sports accomplishment that I will ever go through. Just as an athlete to watch and dream, and then you're on that ice doing what your idols were doing. And not only are you doing it, but you win. Like, because going to the Olympics alone are incredible. And then actually winning, it is the most surreal experience. But one
Oh,
that,
and by the way, you were the captain of the team.
yes. And I think, I think that leadership part came from my brothers and my family, and my sister too, like just the way everyone conducted themselves. We were always team players. So I think it was a natural thing for me. Definitely team first mentality. So it was an honor, and winning. I mean, it just doesn't get better than that moment. And I'd always watched championships and watched the way the athletes reacted. And then the fact that we got to do it was amazing.
That's a great moment. And especially as you reflected on the 1980 team, and there was Ruzioni calling all of his teammates up for the gold medal celebration. And that had to have resonated with you as the captain of the 98 women's team.
Absolutely. No, those guys, our whole team knew those players and grew up emulating those players. And so it was amazing. And then in Salt Lake City, we had the Olympics at home. We didn't win the gold in that one, but I was chosen, which also blew my mind, was one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do. Myself and Peekaboo Street, the skier, were chosen to carry the torch up the stairs, and we handed it to the 1980 Olympic team. I just was like, that was a full-on dream. And like, it still doesn't even seem like it really happened, but like, I don't know, something I could never, ever think would happen. And it fell into, that I got an opportunity. So that was really cool.
That is very cool. Now, I have to ask you this because for those who don't know, Cammi is married to Ray Ferraro, the excellent broadcaster from ESPN. And he has a son named Landon who just was in Beijing playing for Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Was it conflicting for you to watch that? And
you know what? I think family comes first for me in everything. So, the allegiance is, of course I have an allegiance to the US, but when Landon's playing for Canada, I'm cheering for Landon. Like there's not even a question in my mind. I mean, our younger boys play soccer, and if they were ever playing anywhere, they're from Canada too, right? So your allegiance is with your family. There's never a doubt in my mind for that. So for the women though, obviously my heart was with the US, and I was, obviously rooting on the men's US team to do well, but when it comes down to like family, you're rooting for your family hard. So
that's tremendous. When you look at your life, I don't think when you were a little girl setting out in a broom closet getting dressed, you could have ever imagined that your hockey career would take you to places that you have gone. You have broken more glass ceilings than probably any other woman in hockey to this point. Do you have a chance, or you were just named the assistant general manager for the Vancouver Canucks? Have you had a chance yet to reflect on how, going from what you did representing your country, your college, going to the Kraken as a pro scout, now assistant GM? Does that ever resonate with you? Like, holy mackerel, how did I get here?
It is a little surreal. I think, playing, there's two parts to that, because when I played because I loved it. I didn't play to get any accolade. I literally played because I loved it. And I think we're losing that in sport today. Like we really need to, like parents really need to assess, like, let the kids play because they love it. Don't have an agenda for them to make it, or a pressure that they have to make it. You just keep playing and you never know what happens, and you put in the work. And if you have dreams and aspirations, set the goals, absolutely. But youth sport is so beneficial for so many people. So for me, I was just playing because I loved it. Yeah, I dreamed of playing the Blackhawks. I did, but I didn't spend every day, getting to that goal. I just kept playing because I loved it, and I put in the work because I loved it. And, from all the things that I accomplished, like I was able to reflect on my career when I was nominated for the Hockey Hall of Fame, because I just never thought that would happen. It was an accolade or something that came my way that it was never a thought that would be. So I was able to sit back and really look at the journey, and it was really neat to thank everybody and to know who will help me on the way, and to figure out, like, you know, the highlights that I would go like through my head, what my favorite things were. A lot of my favorite things were when I was young, though, playing in tournaments and my teammates. And but then I look at you know, where I'm at with like getting a job with Seattle as an NHL pro scout. It hadn't been done, so I didn't even know it was an option. And same with my role with, you know, as an assistant general manager of the Canucks. Like, I didn't dream that when I was younger, because, and even in my adult life, I didn't know that it was really possible, because those roles were never, ever, there was never a woman in that position. It was all men. So it just wasn't an option. So it really is, you know, you kind of sit back and say, oh, wow, like, this is incredible. Like, these are now, these positions that were traditional male dominated positions that women are being hired in. And there are women qualified all over for these jobs. It's just now that women will be hired, which is great. And I'm excited for my opportunity, and know that change is coming, which is great.
Now, did you ever have an opportunity to visit anybody in a children's hospital? And if so, what was that relationship like, and how does it inspire you today?
Yeah, the biggest impact that I've ever felt was when I went to visit a young girl here in Vancouver. I believe it was either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. It might have been Christmas Day. And she was fighting cancer. And I just went in, brought her some Christmas gifts. I can't even remember what I brought her, but she had a bigger impact on me than I had on her. To this day, I've never forgotten. Her name was Lexi. I carry her with me. I think of her every Christmas. I think of her often in the hockey world. I wore her number on my skate. She had passed shortly after I had seen her. But the impact that she had on me, it's still very much a part of me today.
Well, that's wonderful. I think those kinds of relationships are one of the great things about sports. If you hadn't accomplished what you did, you probably never would have met Lexi. And you think about how important she has been in your memory, and as you raise your family and things like that, and the inspiration that she provides. I think when you read I Can Play Too, one of the great messages is that no matter who you are, no matter what you do, don't let other people tell you what you can and can't do, right? Isn't that kind of the crux of that story at the end of the day?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nobody should deter you from your passion and dreams. And, you know, there are these little voices that we have inside. Like, I wanted to write a book, but I was told I shouldn't. And then years later, when I was kind of ready, someone said, why wouldn't you just write it? And part of me was like, well, what if nobody reads it? And his answer was, who cares? Put it out there, put it out there. And I thought, you know what, he's right. Because if I even just inspire one person, then I feel like I did it, you know, I did it. And I didn't think it was even possible to do that. And now there's this book. So there's all these little things that sometimes we think about that we'd like to do. And I would just encourage, yes, to go for it, to really listen to what you like to do, not what your parents like, not what your aunt and uncle like, or your brothers and sisters like. It's what do you like to do? And sometimes you might not know. So that means you should try a lot of things, because you never know what will really jump out at you.
Well, Cammi Granato, you are an amazing inspiration. You are a motivator beyond motivators. And I can't thank you for the time you spent with us today, sharing your story, sharing, you know, I Can Play Too with all of the patients that are going to benefit from this. So thank you for that. And we wish you great luck with the Canucks. And who knows what tomorrow brings, right?
Right. Thank you, Jim. No, I take it day by day, right? But I hope I hope every one of you that's reading it likes it. And if you want to share with me what you liked about it, I would love hearing from you. But yeah, I'm excited. I hope everyone likes it. Just, yeah, be yourself and go for it is really what my message is.